Hi, everyone. It is the Triple Threat podcast entering your ears this lovely Monday morning. Just three loving brothers working together to make entertainment for your purposes. With me today is my younger brother, Matthew. Matt, how are you today?
I'm just fine, Alex. Thank you so much for
That is
asking.
great to hear. That is pleasant sound to my eardrums. And my older brother on the west coast of Canada, William, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for asking, Alex. It's very nice to hear from you. Matthew, very nice to hear from you as well.
Thank you.
Good to hear from all of us. I just extended my arms when I said that.
Anytime spent with you two is time well spended.
And I just want to point out, just because it says threat in the title of our podcast,
very
do not
aggressive.
feel threatened in any way.
Mm-hmm.
We are very calm and loving gentlemen.
And we never argue or disagree about anything ever. And why would anyone think we would?
We're brothers. Why would we argue?
Yeah.
What is there to argue about?
We have
Not
to.
in the world.
We agree with everything all the time, and that's what makes the world so perfect. Is no one disagrees or challenges thinking on anything.
Exactly. That's
right.
what I think we all wish would happen with the world, is that there was no disagreements of any kind.
Of any kind.
Yeah.
Just homogenous thoughts, just collecting like clouds in the sky, but really just one cloud.
Like
and
a
one thought.
cumulus cloud. Is that what they call it? That because it accumulates. I believe so. Clouds are fun to watch. You ever watch clouds? Those are great.
Fantastic.
I'm a
Cumulus
big fan.
cloud, for the record, is the only cloud type I know of, and can't
You know,
identify
Cirrus,
because
sure.
I would identify all of them as cumulus.
See, aren't you glad you have this chance to have a conversation with all of us that we can discuss various types of clouds, even though cumulus, I believe, is the only cloud I know of as well?
Matt mentioned one. Matt, educate us, please.
I think I said cirrus cloud. It's the
That's
the
a
ones that are in the
satellite. That's a satellite radio.
Oh no!
It's
I
actually
understand
the
why you would be confused, but it's not.
the brightest star in the sky.
No, that's the sun.
Well,
Uh,
that's a technicality, but that wasn't a disagreement. That was a correction. I appreciate that. I appreciate that correction very much.
Nothing technical about that.
Yeah.
It's in the sky.
Yeah,
it is a star.
It's okay. The second brightest, the brightest
Okay,
star visible
what is your problem?
at night.
What are you trying to
Brightest
do
star
right now?
visible at night. I'm
What are
not
you doing?
trying
What
to
are
do
you-
anything.
what is this?
Just,
We talked about
we're
this.
just getting along.
Will.
We're
We
getting
talked about
along.
this.
We're getting along. We're getting along. For
Serenity now.
serenity now and sanity later. Okay, we can stop doing this because we're gonna blow out people's eardrums if we just launch into our normal
put
cadence.
them to sleep. I'm not sure. Either way, hopefully they.
It is the morning. Hopefully they had a cup of Joe.
It is not necessarily the morning. I can't.
Can't
We're
stress
like
that.
a morning.
I don't want you to keep mentioning that as Monday morning.
You're
First of all,
no.
that podcast already exists, and second of all, maybe some people have staff meetings.
That's
or things
that's
of that
true.
nature. Maybe
Yeah.
some people sit down with their spouse and listen to this over dinner on Monday evening. So
I've heard of this. I've heard of this. I've heard people do this. I have heard people.
lots
do
of
this.
people do it.
Many people do.
Most of the people I've talked to personally who listen to this podcast, that is like
Yes.
the overwhelming majority of what they do.
Basically,
to listen to this.
80% of our audience does that. I would say, if I could give it a percentile, I would say 80% of our fans do that. We were basically CBC radio, and now we've turned into maybe more of a morning zoo type thing. Oh boy.
Morning Zoo.
Man in the box, get back in that box.
Matt, it's time for you to edit in some sound effects.
Yeah, maybe a honking horn and or something. But probably the easiest way to do sound effects on this show actually is to bring up like maybe an app on an iPhone and just point it at the microphones we're all using. I wanted to mention
That would work.
we actually have some sponsors this week for the Triple Threat Podcast. Triple Threat Podcast this week brought to you by Neutrogena. Don't wash your junk with the same thing you wash your face and suffer junk face. Use Neutrogena. And also brought to you by Chipotle. I had Chipotle for lunch, and neither of you did because I have a Chipotle in my city, and you don't.
No, we do not.
Matt, did you have a Chipotle in Saskatoon?
No,
Okay.
not to my knowledge. Unless there was one hiding. There was a Chili's, and I get those two confused.
They have it.
You
They
ever
have,
wanted?
no.
Wow! Don't
Utterly-
ever say that again.
Utterly different.
Honest, to get them
Did
confused.
we ate it at Chili's when we were in Saskatoon, right?
Yeah, I think the night you
Only
guys
Chili's
got
I've been to in my entire life.
there. It was all right.
It's perfectly average. I mean, it's perfectly serviceable.
It was edible.
Yes,
food.
Right down the middle.
Edible, presented on a plate. A very friendly young man took care of us. They're actually opening up.
Actually, the waiter was very friendly.
Actually, can't say that. Yeah, he
true.
was
That's true.
friendly, but he's in Saskatoon. Saskatchewanese people are very kind. They're very nice.
aggressively kind. Almost.
I'll have you know that's not what they're called.
Saskatchewanesian. What do you call them then?
It's pretty good.
What do you call them besides?
The demonym?
What do you call them besides
Saskatchewan?
Besides stupid. That's a little joke. Yeah, I have friends from Saskatchewan. That's one of the most fun provinces for Americans to try to pronounce. Is Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Anytime somebody says Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to pronounce. Actually, it's pronounced exactly how it's. Yeah, it's pronounced exactly how it's spelled. Really.
Yeah. I want to touch on something that we talked about last
Touch it.
podcast.
Touch it, buddy.
No, I'm touching it. So,
Push it
real
good.
did either of you
push it.
guys?
Good to clear that music.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No,
Bunch
you can
of
actually
yellowed song lyrics.
Fair use,
play
fair use.
if you play music for less than I think like a certain amount of I think it's under 10 seconds. You don't have to pay for it. Dave Mustaine's Megadeth's song "Peace Sells But Who's Buying." The bass line for that was used to open up MTV News for years, and MTV cut it off right before a certain point, so they didn't have to pay for it.
Okay, Will, I've
Shoot,
heard
brother.
I've heard that's an urban legend. To be honest with you,
It was in his book, Dave Mustaine, definitely not urban legends: The History of My Life by Dave Mustaine.
this book is not.
Wait a minute.
ghostwritten.
Now that I realize that, I think that subtitle's a little
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Wait a minute.
Right?
Wait a minute.
Anyway,
Wait a minute, Dave. Anyway, go ahead.
So, did either of you listen to? This would have come out, I believe, the same day as our last podcast. It was Mike Myers on WTF with Mark Maron. Did you guys hear that one?
Not as of yet, but
I've not.
no.
I've not.
Okay. Well, first off, highly recommended. I don't listen to every WTF episode because a lot of it's just like I usually just look at the name of the person and say, "Never heard of that person." I don't know that person, so I'm not going to bother.
You know,
Right,
and
so-
to interject, CM Punk did have a point on that with Chris Hardwick because they were talking about like people on the show, and Chris was kind of saying, CM, you're not like my normal guests because they're usually on films or TV or like comic book, like nerd stuff, right? And
Right.
Punk's like, yeah, I understand that. Maybe not a lot of people who listen to your show know who I am, but I listen to everybody on the show, and if I don't know who they are, then I learn that way. It's an interesting way to learn about people. Like even
For sure.
yeah, a lot of the podcasts I listen to, even if somebody I know, like Chris Jericho had Bully Ray on one time. I'm like, not a huge Bully Ray fan by any means, but he was on there, and I found the interview very interesting, entertaining. Anyway, that maybe touches on my point of if you don't like something, give it a shot. But I'll not divulge into that any further.
I think also, anyway, we're kind of digressing from what Matt
That's
says.
fine. Go
but
ahead.
We've
at
never
the same
done that
time,
before.
there's also so many out there. You can certainly pick and choose.
Oh,
you know.
absolutely, yeah.
Even
And actually,
within the same podcast, like the WTF or the Nerdist. I mean, they're all in the 500s.
And yeah,
So-
yeah, so many shows, and that's what got me into the show. Actually, what got me into listening to these podcasts, like the Steve Austin show, was they had an interview with Daniel Bryan on it. So I started that, and I checked out his back catalog. And anyway, Matt, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Sure, yeah, no problem. So first off, it's really good. Like, I don't know if when you hear that Mike Myers is on that show, you might think like, oh, is he going to be like over the top or too much or kind of dumb or whatever? But just because he's got a persona, he made a bunch of Shrek movies. Not everybody loves it.
He
But
didn't make him. He did a voice in him.
I don't
That
think
they had to
Shrek
revoice.
movies
That they had to
people have problems
revoice.
with.
They had to
right, okay, Love Guru stuff like
They
that.
had to
Yeah.
revoice it. They had to because he wasn't doing an Scottish accent originally.
He addresses that on there. I
Well,
won't
so that's
spoil what
not
it
an
is,
urban
but it's actually
legend. Then
really
it's not an urban legend, sir.
No, but he refers to it as a Paul Bunyan story in the sense that
He
it's a
probably
little bit
filmed a couple scenes and then
Or maybe they
No, he
recorded
did,
some
he went
stuff.
back in its entirety, but but people talk about it like he went back and spent everybody's money, and He was going to do 10 weeks recording the voice, and he ended up doing 20 because he had to record it twice. And he didn't get paid anymore. He just wanted to do it right.
Now, a friend of the show,
Spoiler
Hanlon,
for WTF Pod.
He's done voiceovers for shows and that kind of thing before. I don't know if he's
right.
I would like to ask him what you would have to do for 10 weeks of recording. Because you can, I know it's not the kind of it's Shrek. It's an entire movie, and he does a very good job. It's very entertaining. But I don't see how 10 weeks. That's about 50 days if you don't count the weekends. Maybe 8 hours a day. So that's
that's 400 hours.
400 hours in the booth, going like, "Hey, don't care,"
Yeah,
and he's not speaking for the whole 90 minutes of the movie either. Might be exaggerated. Okay, I'm just curious as to what Maybe a lot of lunch breaks, a lot of Chipotle breaks in that, a lot of scrubbing your face with Neutrogena. Want to make sure you don't scrub your junk with the same stuff you scrub your face. Neutrogena, avoid junk face. Keep going.
So the part I wanted to get to actually was he was talking about Monty Python, like we talked about last week, and he described Monty Python as the Beatles of comedy. And I was it was so funny because it was like it was Monday. We recorded obviously early Monday morning, so it was so fresh in my mind that it was funny that he brought that up. That you hear these two groups that are considered kind of the peak of what they are, and we had talked about them before, and so I thought, what, if we are being validated in what we talked about by Austin Powers himself, I feel pretty good about myself.
And a couple of points on Python and the Beatles. First of all, there is a big similarity in that they were both kind of over in England and they came over to the U.S. Well, they came over to the U.S. They kind of were afraid they freak out American audiences. I think they put them on PBS first. But they actually, the Beatles and the Pythons, I think for the most, I know George was a big fan of the Pythons, and he actually paid for Life of Brian to get made. And they're like, "Why did you?"
Tiny, not even cameo. He's just in a shot.
Yeah, and they asked George, why did you pay all that money for Life of Brian? He's like, "Well, because I wanted to see it get made." That's basically it.
A good reason to do something.
You wanted to see the movie. By the way, this is just on the Neutrogena mind space. I looked up Old Spice. This podcast is also brought to you by Old Spice. Old Spice, if your grandfather hadn't worn it, you wouldn't exist. Wow. Okay. That's Old Spice's motto as of right now. So I don't know.
That's pretty great.
Is that actually their motto?
Okay.
If
you Google it, that's
horrible
the first
person,
thing that comes
I guess
up.
If you're just quoting what they say, that's fine.
If I had made that up, by the way, I would not be doing this show from my tiny apartment in Vancouver. I would be on top of Mount Everest in my mansion because that catchphrase, that motto, would have netted me so many
place to live.
That's not a good choice.
Nepalese quarters. It'd also be like 7:00 in the morning there or something. You have my what do they call it? Sherpa. Have my Sherpa come up the hill with the.
So obsessed with time. I don't know why.
Riding on a
time
yak.
And dates.
Time and dates. Hey, man, that's life. Actually, time's all. It's just a man-made concept, man. We can have the real existential podcast this week if you want to. You guys
called the True Detective Podcast.
Okay. Well, look, I have 8 episodes of that sitting on my PVR, and I haven't watched it yet. What? You haven't watched it? Oh, I was gonna freak out. Exactly.
Just get to it, man.
I know. There's this great bit on Portlandia that was called Spoiler Alert, and it was, it's basically it's hilarious because that's probably their most accurate sketch to date, in that so many groups of people sit down and talk like, I'll watch Game of Thrones. Like, oh, don't tell me, I'm only on season 2. Okay, well, Breaking Bad, no, don't tell me I was only on season. Can I tell you about that? No, you can't. That's so real it hurts almost. Everyone's just terrified of spoilers, and everybody's on a different show. And there's so much. I mean, it's great. It's a real embarrassment of riches. We have all these great TV shows right now. I think it's a real TV renaissance in which we live, which is good. I'm also going to try to say a little less. So if I say too much, you guys can call me out on it.
Sure. Actually, when you're talking about other TV shows you watched, I was just rewatching the entire first season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was on Canadian Netflix. So I watched that.
Yeah.
Huge fan of the show. If anyone hasn't seen that show yet, and you like, The Office, you like Parks and Recreation, you like Saturday Night Live, it's just great. A great show.
It's a show that got a lot better as it went.
Yeah, I didn't think
it wasn't
that shaky,
good show,
but it's good. I like it a lot. It's my favorite comedy on TV right now. Well, it's not even barely really on TV. What? What are you ugging at that?
Nothing. I guess you don't watch Anger Management. Fine, whatever. But
Is that show still on? I know he signed off like 96
it had a
episodes.
weird deal where it was like, if the first 10 episodes get good ratings, then we make 100.
We'll sign him on.
Oh,
for
wow.
And it came out
episodes.
kind of right when Charlie Sheen was at his just past his peak, I guess, of winning and whatnots. And so there was still a little bit of interest in him, and then they had that deal. I think another show had that deal as well. It's some weird, I want to say FX or FFX makes those deals from time to time. So I'm sure it's doing fine. You know, it's the third show in a row he's been named Charlie, and he's been a drunk, alcoholic womanizer.
Yeah, he's really far off from his
if you're
real life
An
and from his
alcoholic, you're also
character on
drunk. So
Two and a Half Men.
anyway, sorry. Yes, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
So this week I stumbled across a kind of the pilot script that was pitched to the network, given to the network, and it was really interesting to go through and to see what was different, because it was a pilot script. It was like something like 52 pages or something, which is pretty interesting because it was pretty long. But the most interesting part was that if you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine and you know the characters, this will make sense. If you don't, it might not. But in the script, Gina and Rosa don't exist. Those are two characters who are played by, I want to say, Stephanie Beatriz. I don't know if I'm saying that right, and Chelsea Peretti. And those characters are not in the script. They're actually combined into one character named Megan, who they at some point during the process they split up into two characters, and they kind of split off being scary from being weird, and they kind of made each person different like that. And so that was the pilot script. Now, Alex, I think you had mentioned before the podcast about an interesting change in a pilot of a very popular show.
Oh, yeah, just talking about pilots and how different things are and kind of the creative process of making it. But Big Bang Theory, and it comes on every once in a while because it's basically syndicated channel that exists. The pilot of Big Bang Theory, Sheldon is a much different character, kind of still some of the same idiosyncrasies about him, but much more vocal and kind of interested in women the same way Leonard is. They're very similar characters in a way with very minor differences, and obviously you see those grows as time goes on. And the original pilot, Kaylee Cuoco, was not the star.
No, it was the woman from Much Music.
Much Music VJ. I can't. Amy or
really?
Amanda.
Yeah, it was Amanda, and she was like a real like tough girl. I don't know if it's still on YouTube.
It was on YouTube.
Yeah, they had the original pilot, and it was shot like I think felt like a few years before. Like it was a completely different set. Like it was a real pilot. Like they shot it and pitched it with that, but the original
she was a much different character in it,
yeah, the original neighbor, she was like, she had a leather jacket and she smoked, and she was, the definition of a tough girl. You put a leather jacket. I just had
She
a
was
fitting.
like that girl from Saved by the Bell that one season.
Yeah, I had
Tori?
Tori.
Was that Tori?
Yes, thank you.
Wow, there
Saved
you
by
go,
the Bell, man.
Saved by the Bell trivia, just
Right, yeah.
right.
Oh my
right,
gosh.
right there.
Did you say Saved by the Bell trivia? I think I have a project this week.
Yeah, I think you do. They
I'm kind of
actually
very interested in that.
They made a Saved by the Bell movie based on Dustin Diamond's book called After the Bell or something before the bell, something like that, where they had a bunch of kids playing the characters from Saved by the Bell as they were making the show.
What?
Yes,
Is that true?
that is true, and they
wanna
shot
see
it
that so bad.
and they shot it here. A friend of mine worked on it. Actually,
How has no one seen that?
a couple of friends worked on
Or
it.
is it not out yet?
It was not out yet. I think they just finished
Right.
shooting it.
What? I'm so
Gosh,
fascinated.
that's interesting as heck.
And I guarantee you that's going to be a train wreck.
Oh, it's called Behind the Bell. Doesn't make any sense, and
This
it's
isn't
got.
even a play on words.
Bells are circular, so there's no real behind.
I gotta say, Dustin Diamond's look for a period of time is probably my most disliked look on a person. He's got a toque and a beard and semi-shaded glasses.
Ugh.
That could have been his look a couple years ago. Maybe
And a
that
pink
was his
toque?
thing. No, it's just a black toque, and it's.
Okay, I guess we're looking at different pictures. Cause
Oh yes, actually, the pink toque. Are you looking at him on the red carpet with the scarf?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. Okay.
Folks, if you want to play along
Thanks,
with the show,
Google.
just Google image search
Okay.
Dustin Diamond,
Okay,
which
right.
apparently Will did for some reason.
Because I wanted to see what the name of the book. It's called Behind the Bell. Everybody who is enjoying currently the book, or will be soon, will be coming at you next week with the review of the Behind the Bell book, Dustin Diamond, ghost written by, I don't know, some author. Wow, I'm
Alfonso
terribly illiterate.
Ribeiro.
Yeah, I don't know. Alfonso
McGregor's
Ribeiro
character from,
met Chris Jericho, and Chris tells a funny story about it on his podcast when he was doing a celebrity sing-along. He had a very creepy run-in with him that I can't repeat on this show.
I hope he has money.
I've actually... Pilots are interesting because sometimes they just recast somebody altogether, and I've been a part of that. On the original... I keep saying the original Man with Brooms pilot, they shot that in Hamilton in December 2009. And I remember...
that long ago?
It was that, yes. Okay. So they shot the pilot of it in 2009 in December. I remember I taped on tape here in Vancouver. I taped on tape, I think, in October 2009. They had a callback session here with the casting director I did in November 2009. And then I didn't hear back from it. It's just like any old thing. And then they had a pilot that they shot in Hamilton at a completely different place from where they shot the show eventually in Winnipeg. And then toward the end of February 2010, it was, after the Olympics, my agent said, well, they're doing more casting on Men with Brooms. I'm like, I thought that it was already done and casted. So I went to Toronto for a casting session there, and that, turned out wonderful for me. It was a great experience. But then I'm left with this feeling that, oh, wow, not my fault or my doing, but the powers that be at CBC saw this guy playing my character originally and just kind of thought, we'll go a different direction with it. Yeah. And they ended up going with me. So
it had nothing to do with you. I mean, it did in a way. I mean, it was great that you got the part and everything.
But it had nothing to do with me.
But
the
decision's already made at that point.
Like I kind of alluded to last week, I've had jobs sort of offered to me, and not officially, but basically mine, and then taken away. And the guy getting it, I can't really fault him for anything. He's the guy who got the part. There you go. I'm trying to do my best to mature as an actor where it's not like, oh, jerk got that part. It's, hey, man, you got that part. Great. I'll get another one, or you'll get another one.
It's not even your performance or anything. It's more the way the writer or director or producer sees it in their head, and you have to fulfill this very
specific vision.
Yeah.
Sometimes
specific, but also undefined.
Exactly.
In what they put on the page or what you gather from it. You kind of have to make a choice, and I'm sorry, I've never acted in anything, but from what I've heard, you have to make a choice and kind of stick with it, or maybe they'll ask you to do it a different way, but you have to interpret your character your own way.
Yeah, go in there with your clear choice, and if they like it and want you to do it a little bit differently, they can direct you. But a lot of the time, they don't even know what they're looking for. They'll send you the character and the break, kind of what they think of the character, what their opinion of the character is, and you kind of skew that to yourself and go in there and, give them what you got, so to speak. But it's been a good time in Vancouver, in the biz, I'll say. That's with 3 Zs, by the way. A lot of stuff going on, so it's good for us.
Have there been a lot of lulls in Vancouver in terms of the industry since you got there?
Yeah. There have been several. I mean, when I graduated VFS in 2007, it was a writer's strike. We were unleashed into the world during the writer's strike, and I thought, and a lot of people thought, well, you can also have a Directors Guild strike or something like that, right? Or an actor's strike. Actually, no, it's because I'm part of the union. So if I'm an actor, if the union's on strike, then I guess I'm on strike. But I won't get into that. I think we avoided a strike at some point. It's very revealing behind the scenes podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot get this information anywhere else.
It's true.
There have been lulls, and when we got out of VFS, as actors, we kind of thought, well, we have to get agents now, but the agents are going to just defend the clients. Yes, they're also lawyers. They're going to serve the clients they already have as best they can, and they might not be looking for new talent. And I, through a very fortunate series of events, landed a very excellent agent, and the writer's strike ended, I think, January 2008, I think, somewhere around there.
Sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds wrong to me.
Because I know
that's why
Quantum
of Solace was it affected by the writer's strike?
It was filmed during the writer's strike, and they couldn't do any rewrites. So during the film, I want to say it's Mark Forster, I think, who directed it. Mark Forster and Daniel Craig had to kind of rewrite it on the fly, because you can't hire someone to rewrite it, but the actor and the director could figure things out. So they were essentially rewriting it on set and trying to figure out what they can make work.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for how that film.
So that
turned
came out.
I mean, a lot of things were affected by that strike. That's why Breaking Bad was only the first season was only 7 episodes.
Man, they're sure glad that strike ended. Well, Conan
That's
did
another show that goes the other way, though. I mean, originally.
Yeah, see, exactly. Spoiler alert.
Season of Breaking
Bad. Spoilers
for
the first season.
I haven't seen it. You can't say anything.
All right. I don't say anything.
Good. Okay. Well, we'll just spend the next half hour in silence. Just sitting here with our thoughts.
In reverence for Breaking Bad.
Transcendental meditation all at once.
I thought it was... Is it accidental meditation? That's when I accidentally thought about something.
No.
Isn't accidental meditation be when you don't think?
Well, those are the times that SNL had to shorten season 2. Is when they had a writer's strike. They had to kind of abbreviate the season. Only a few times.
There's some good SNL talk on that Mike Myers podcast.
I would imagine.
Oh, real good.
Yeah. What other podcasts should people listen to instead of this one? I've been enjoying the 10-minute podcast. That's been good. Who else?
I like the Monday morning podcast personally.
The Bill Burr that he does by himself, right? You're saying
he does that by himself. Sometimes with the lovely Nia, but yeah, that's a good one. I like that one a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts at work. It's good to listen to while I work.
Well, yeah, a good friend of mine listens to this while he's at work as well, and he's got good taste. And he's a good person. He's a good human being. I like him a lot.
I'll just say, "Hey, man," to Will's friend at work.
There you go.
Not his friend from work, but a guy at work who's Will's friend who's listening to this podcast. Possibly.
We're doing this podcast for the working man and the working woman.
Do either of you guys listen to the Flophouse podcast by any chance?
I haven't heard of it.
You haven't heard of it? Okay, so the Flophouse is it's 3 guys who get together and they watch a bad movie and then they talk about it. And
does how did this get made?
It's actually predates it by a fair margin, and it's a very, I would say it's a slightly different kind of humor, because one of the guys is a writer on the Daily Show. And the other guy is the head writer of the Daily Show, and then another one of them is their friend.
Actually, one of those guys
great.
might have been on Steve Austin's show at one point, because I can't remember his name, but he actually talks about how he bumped into Paul McCartney in New York and ended up doing a phone call conversation with him. It was a couple years ago, and I know he was one of the writers.
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I know he was one of the writers on the Daily Show. And I know the Daily Show is maybe how many writers do you think they have in the room? Like 20?
11.
Probably a lot.
Well, if you watch, I just watched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and Jon Stewart was on the one I watched, and it doesn't look like 20 people would fit in the room that they went into.
That is a great program.
Yeah, I like that one.
I think I've watched the one with Louis C.K. probably 3 or 4 times.
Well, it's worth a rewatch,
have you guys seen
really.
It?
Oh yeah, I have. It's great. It's when they get in that really tiny car with the little fabric.
Yeah, the
roof,
Italian
right?
car. But just the story.
So
the first time I ever listened or watched it, he was telling the story about being out with his daughters and getting stuck in the boat.
That one's great.
If you know what I'm talking about. I was actually as close to tears from laughing as I've ever been. I don't know why, but I thought that was the funniest story I'd ever heard in my life.
It was great.
It was fantastic. The dude just has a way of words and storytelling that's just incredible, and a good show. He's got a really good TV show as well. It's
he can weave a yarn really well.
Yes,
and he works his butt off for that show too. He does everything on that thing.
He's got a funky deal there.
He's got a funky
every
deal.
Comedian you ever hear from is like, oh, that's the deal everyone should have. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, but do you? Yeah,
you get
it
no
sounds
money
like
but
you
full
want
control.
It. Yeah, it sounds like you want it, but do you want it? I know Louis talks about how he would always make movies when he was growing up. He'd always direct stuff in school and all that kind of thing. So Louis was he's a hustler, man. Guy works.
Works hard for the money.
Certainly does not work. What else can we talk? What else can people do instead of watching this show? You can go outside. You can read a book.
Do it alongside.
You can do this while doing either one of those things.
You can listen to a book, actually, and try to listen to an audio book and this podcast at the same time. See what wins.
See what you turn off first.
See what you turn off first. It'll probably won't be us because we're your favorite.
Yeah, you like us, remember?
Remember?
Friends. Remember how sweet we were at the beginning?
Yeah.
So nice. So considerate and everything like that.
That's true. Are you talking about like at the beginning when we started recording these shows, or at the beginning of this particular show?
This particular one. I'm talking about this one in particular.
The show in particular. Well, let's peel back the curtain and show people how we come up with topics that we can discuss. What should we talk about in the future? Anything coming up that we can discuss? I know Led Zeppelin has more remasters coming up in October for Led Zeppelin Untitled and Houses of the Holy.
Were they not mastered enough at the beginning? What's going on there?
Are they new songs, or they just
enough? Okay, so they have a remaster of all the songs that were on the album, and then they have another disc, which is an alternate mix or an alternate take or something a little bit different on them. And those things, I mean, the Beatles have a great big anthology box that speaks to how much people like those things. I mean, they've already come out with 1, 2, and 3. And I think the second disc on 1 is actually a live show from '69 in Denmark or something, which would be
wow.
Yeah,
Really
it should be really awesome. I think it's actually one of the shows from the Led Zeppelin DVD, though. So Led Zeppelin has those more re-releases coming out. Robert Plant is still refusing to tour with the band, and he won't. He's doing his own thing, and he's kind of like if we got together and did it, it would just be doing it for all the wrong reasons, and it's the, to paraphrase, crappiest aspects of stadium rock.
Is he still? What's he up to? Is he just still working with
Alison Krauss? I think he might do something else with her. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, he has his Band of Joy, so he's just happy being an old hippie making music, sitting on more money than he probably knows what to do with. The guy's set up forever, but he's doing what he loves, making music. He made his statement with Led Zeppelin in the 70s. Had a good 10 years with them, and now he's on to different things.
I think he was in the Traveling Wilburys and the White Stripes.
He wasn't? I don't think he was.
No, he wasn't. That's a joke.
Was there? Wait a minute. Is there? You guys put me
He's
on?
not in the Traveling Wilburys. But,
yes. Okay.
Off the top of my head,
who is
Bob Dylan? Bob Dylan was in it.
Harrison.
George Harrison.
Yeah.
Tom
Petty.
Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
Roy
Orbison.
Didn't we just nail
Are we
all
sure Tom
4?
Petty's in it?
Neil.
I don't know if it is 4.
Neil Young.
Nope.
Crosby. Dave
Crosby, Stills, Nash, Young.
Who else? Dave Grohl's got to be in
Krauss.
there. He's in every band.
Dave Grohl is in every band.
Dave Grohl's in every band.
That would predate his time with Nirvana.
Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. He's in there. Who else?
The guy with the shaved head from Aqua.
Yeah, the guy. Come
Michael
on,
Stipe?
Barbie, let's go party.
Yeah,
No,
the guy from Aqua. Michael Stipe was in Aqua.
Isn't Aqua a side project of R.E.M.?
That guy needs to
I
have
would
a
be
sing-off.
amazed if it was.
That guy needs to have a sing-off with the lead singer of Smash Mouth.
Why?
They need to have a sing. Yeah, they need to have a sing-off. They need to sing Celine Dion songs against each other, and every week you vote on who sang it best. But nobody gets eliminated.
Man,
It
that
just
takes me back to that
Nobody gets
SNL sketch
eliminated.
of Smash Mouth.
goes off when they keep busting through walls,
They keep
singing All
busting
Star.
through walls in that girl's room, and she gets scared, and they're like, no, it's just, 3 guys from San Diego trying to have a good time, and they're just like sheep in the background. And the lead singer of Smash Mouth is good friends with Guy Fieri, and that just
Which
pleases
surprises
me endlessly
no one.
for whatever reason.
By being a good friend, you mean is the same person, and his alter ego is Guy Fieri?
They just swap. They have
makes more
they have the
sense to
same
me.
bowling shirt collection. They swap out with the wardrobe people from 2.5 Men from the first couple seasons.
That show was ending this year.
Is Angus T. Young still on that show? Did I get his middle initial right? Angus.
I think it's an H.
By the way, I just clicked on a website I never thought I'd click on in my entire life. I just clicked on smashmouth.com.
I was on a website earlier.
It's the 20th anniversary. They've been around for 20 years, and they have a new site coming soon. Coming soon, folks.
This is still like GeoCities.
Oh, it has a telephone number you can call for booking info, and it's not a 1-800 number. It's a 1-831 number.
Oh boy!
So it's someone's actual.
Takes you straight to the guy from Smash Mouth.
It's like, somebody once told me you want us for your shows.
Couldn't even. Oh my god!
sharpest tool in the shed.
They actually released something was
hurt my
leaked
voice.
online. I don't know how accurate it was, but it was a list of a number of musical acts and how much it costs to hire them for different things.
Oh, I heard about that. I think.
Your Matchbox 20s and your Taylor Swifts and.
Do you know how
and all
much?
that.
Do you have a idea of what the
I've heard
figures
this on
are?
the radio that someone was saying it.
I can't remember. I mean, I could guess. Like, I know Taylor Swift was like $1 million.
Yep, that sounds right.
But I think Matchbox 20 was like maybe 50 to 100. I mean, it must be because there's 4 or 5 of them. How many? No, there's 20. How many people are in Matchbox 20? Why would there not be 20 people in there? There's 182
Thomas.
people in Blink 182.
Yes.
There's 5
Brand
people in
Van,
Maroon 5.
Brand Van 3000. They have
my
3,000
God.
members. They
Yeah.
definitely do.
Snow the Rapper is just made out of snow.
He's just comprised of snow.
who else? The movie
Licky boom boom down. Again, do we have to clear that, or because he will come after us? I guarantee you. That
book,
dude is
a
hardened for
million
chaos.
a million easy pieces has 1 million characters in the book, like not people, like actual
A million little
letters in
pieces.
space.
Why would they be easy pieces?
I don't know. It
Why
was
would they be Reese's Pieces? I was talking to a girl from work the other day, and she was going over like different memoirs she was reading. She's into memoirs, and I was like, "Memoirs of who?" And she's like, "Well, they're not of famous people; they're just memoirs." And I was like, "Okay." She was listing a couple of them off, and then I was looking some of them up. I was like, "Those are just fiction books. I don't know what if she thinks they're real or not." And I'm not going to be the person to tell her.
Oh, you don't want to
but,
burst her bubble.
Oh, is it? Did you get that idea because it was like 1 million little pieces? Is that book by that guy that kind of lied about what he did?
Yeah, James Joyce.
James Joyce.
James
yeah.
Joyce. Yep, James Joyce wrote that one,
To
and then he wrote Ulysses after that.
to tie in something we were talking about earlier with Smash Mouth, this is the 4-track listing from Smash Mouth "I'm a Believer" album from the Shrek 1 movie. First track
that's not an album. That's definitely a single or an EP.
Well, what is it called? An EP?
I guess so.
The first track is "I'm a Believer" pop radio mix version. Second track is "I'm a Believer," the album version. The album version 7 seconds longer than the radio mix version. 7 seconds longer. I saw her face. The third song is "All Star," "God Lives Underwater" remix, and then the last track is "All Star" album version. And the "God Lives Underwater" remix is about 46 seconds longer.
You got to think
36 seconds longer. My apologies.
Why did they put out "I'm a Believer"? They could make so much money with that.
So
Because
I
it's a
saw
stupid
his
idea.
face, and I'm
can
a
I
Believer.
piggyback on Monkeys tracks for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Is I'm a Believer originally by the Monkeys?
Yes, it is.
First of all, man, I used to love that show when we used to watch on Much Music at like 7 in the morning on Saturdays. I don't know why.
Fantastic.
Fantastic
They were a great
show.
band. They were a major influence on the Beatles.
Y'all ever played the game Cranium?
I've played.
Yeah.
I've
Yes.
craniumed.
Yeah, so I was doing a humdinger, probably. Oh gosh, at least.
Oh,
a
and you
month
were trying
ago.
to do like.
No, it wasn't that. It was.
You could tell what that was, though, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
did a
It
good
was.
job.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
It was in
the
context.
song's called "Daydream Believer."
In context. Thanks. Yes,
So
Daydream
the song's
Believer.
called "Daydream
and,
Believer,"
Homecoming
and the
Queen.
person kept on being like, "Oh, cheer up, Sleepy Jean," and I was like, "Yeah, but come on, get to the
Cheer up,
next
Sleepy
part." And be like,
Are they from
"Yeah,
this country?
Sleepy-
Clear
the
Sleepy Jean.
one."
Nah, that's the name of the song you're talking to me about. Clear up Sleepy Jean.
Well, I mean, they're going like, "Oh, I know the words. It's cheer up, Sleepy Jean."
Yes.
Something, and then just couldn't get.
Oh, what
Daydream
can
Believer?
they said?
Right.
Oh, it's Clear Up Sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it be?
I also had "Grooves in the Heart" by D Light.
Oh, how many E's are in the band title D-Light? Is it 3 or 2?
I'm gonna say
think it's-
4.
You want
There's
to
only
say
one,
there's
but
an E
there's
at the end.
8 eyes.
There is. Yeah, I forgot that light was spelled L-I-T-E.
Yeah, L-I-T-E, and there is 4. Man, I'm good at random trivia. Remember, I knew Chumbawamba formed in 1982, and that
You did
Weird
not
Al
know that. You
Yankovic
guessed that.
only won 3 Grammys.
That's true. Alex, what do you have on your shelf now? Because you got the question to how many Grammys has Weird Al won?
Yeah, so I was
many-
leaving my apartment the other day, and I'm having mail problems, so stuff doesn't necessarily get
Hey,
delivered
man,
to my
don't
apartment.
get too
personally.
personal on this podcast. If you're having mail problems, I
was afraid you were
suggest
gonna say
you
that.
see a doctor.
If you have mail problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a dude ain't
an itch
one.
ain't one. I was going to say an itch.
I said,
Like
dude.
maybe you have like male
Because
itch.
I said male problems.
A friend of mine called me out the other day on something I didn't know I did. I said I have to itch myself. I have to itch myself. He said, I hate when people say that. And I thought, oh, you're right.
Yeah, you scratch an itch.
So just to bug him, I'm going to say I have to itch myself for all eternity.
I hate
So,
when
Alex,
people say
what was the back-
exploded.
Okay, yeah.
Instead of
I just wish they'd say it blew up.
Instead of saying blued up.
that seems like a
No,
very
blew
much
up.
the preference thing.
I don't know why I hate it. Just the word exploded just doesn't seem like it should be a word to me.
That's why you wouldn't last in the army. You'd be like, soldier, did that bird explode? Was it exploded? Oh, sorry, I mean it's like blew up. You're all of a sudden from the
because
South.
I'm Southern.
So you're having
Southern
male problems.
Yes. Yes. So I was leaving my apartment and there was a parcel on the ledge, on the communal ledge. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I'll check if that's for me because they have to do that constantly. I was like, it is for me. And it's from a website that brings people things. And I was like, well, I didn't order from this thing website.
Yes. How
so
curious. How curious.
What kind of is going on here? And then I open it up, and there it is, Mandatory Fun by Weird Al Yankovic. And a note that just says, congratulations, William. So that was my, somehow,
Oh,
and then
man.
I forgot about it as soon as we did it. But because I won the Weird Al trivia, 2 episodes back now? Couple episodes back now that I am now the proud owner of my first Weird Al Yankovic CD.
Hey, man, you asked me to cop that, and I did. Ask and ye shall receives. I'm sure your heart
Nice.
exploded with joy for that.
Like, it's not past tense. It's like when, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's an awkward
Talk
word.
it out,
It's an
man.
awkward
I'm
word.
curious.
I can't. It's my.
It's too. Look, it's too.
Are you?
Yeah, it's too
is, your,
painful.
is your problem with the word explode instead of explode? it exploded.
It
Is
Well,
that a problem for you?
supposedly,
Yes.
the
well,
word
Irregardless of
exploded.
that, it doesn't-
Hey, you might as well get to the point. You know, that's what I have to say.
Shirty Shree. That's one of my favorite of all times. Is Mine as Well. That will
Can
forever
you
be
please tell
ingrained
that
in my
story
mind.
right now?
Minus.
Have I not already said this on the
You
podcast?
haven't done it on the cast. We're very familiar with it, but I do like the minus swell story.
I'm positive we said it. Anyway, I have this friend. His name's Pat. He's actually a super bright guy.
Yeah, he's really well. He's book smart.
You know, he's book smart, but he's
He's smart. Yeah,
he's a doctor. This is Dr. Murphy,
yeah.
which we
It's
all
book smart.
I will
You can just
never
learn
call
from
him.
a book. Well, he just unveiled his first and last name, so that's pretty.
Did I? Damn it.
Yes, incriminating. Yeah, and
I
he
think
said,
there's
"Damn it."
only a million of them in the universe.
And now we have. That's true. Go to Ireland and look at that up in the phone book. Good luck.
There's actually a whole song about the night he died. Anyway, so
Whoa,
one day,
you're
this
right.
is
Mind
Yes,
equals
right.
blown. Oh, mind equals blown.
your mind just exploded.
I hate when people say mind equals blown, by the way. So if you want to bother me, say mind equals blown.
You don't like when people say though after things, which I do, but I don't do it. Like
I just hate when they do it on like the internet.
At it. Like I'm kind
Yeah.
of winking at it.
Okay, like everybody, yeah. Or they say doe, D-O-E.
That's exactly what I do.
podcast
I go,
dough.
she cute dough. She cute dough.
I like that. I take a just simple joint.
Or like, for example, oh, by the way, Will, what are you trying to stop saying? Us?
Yes, I'm trying to say us, yeah.
The likes
It's not
I
not
go
going
through
so
on
well.
a podcast. If you guys can just Pierce Hawthorne me and just yell like every time I say like.
Yeah. It'll get a little too aggressive if we're just calling each other out for verbal tics.
But
I know
it just
Dad-
bothers me listening back to it, so I try to stop.
Yeah. Ironically, you dislike hearing that.
Correct.
Patty
And I
Murphy-
do that
Pat Murphy,
often
Alex.
if I start a sentence with if I walk into a room and I'm like, my dad says I should never start a sentence with the word so
Yes,
I'll
that's
start
true.
that over. I'll
Yeah.
call myself on it, but I don't do it too often. Anyway, Patrick Murphy. Damn it, I did it again. All right.
Dr. Patrick Murphy to you, sir.
Let's call him Patrick Murphy.
Patrick Turfy.
Friend of mine, friend of the show. I don't think he's ever heard of it. Whatever, that's fine. Probably better for my
Well, then
purposes
he's
here.
no friend of ours.
But he used to be a soccer referee, and this was back in the days of ICQ or MSN Messenger, and one summer, I'm just looking at MSN Messenger, and he just has a message on there that's like, well, I don't have a game tonight, nothing's going on. Instead of might as well go ref a game, he put minus well, MINUS well, minus well, go ref a soccer game, which makes no sense whatsoever, and I still use it to this day.
Because it's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's
he's
the
just, and he's done it before. I've seen him do it before with other things, just sayings that he's never seen written down, only heard, and then he kind of plays it by ear. Or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. You guys are supposed to interject there, but yeah, he just makes an assumption without realizing that what he's saying makes no sense whatsoever.
I know that one of these phrases that plays very well into this is for all intents and purposes, which is often exchanged with all intensive purposes, which doesn't make sense, but is used frequently.
Yeah, it's a word crime. If Wordell had 8 more minutes, you could have commented on all of these. The intensive purposes is bad. Irregardless yeah,
me.
That's one that you'll find bothers people a whole lot. It's an interesting word renaissance in which we live, because probably 15 years ago we didn't really communicate through written word all that much. You had to mail a letter, and now we're emailing, and especially with text, there's a lot of snafus on text message. Most of the time it's just talking to each other over a phone, not a whole lot of typed up written stuff. So now I think all these grammatical things. No, it's good. I'm just saying all these grammatical things are kind of coming to the forefront now because we're communicating more with actual. You know what I mean? Communicating more with actual written words. Whereas years ago, the people who communicated with actual written words were authors and writers and people who knew how to not make grammatical mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when you look at my friend has a book of all just old correspondence between different people, just letters they wrote at times, and it's Winston Churchill or it's different people like that. But those are fascinating reads, and I think we kind of miss that nowadays. Those don't exist anymore.
Yeah, now we just
no one to catalog those.
Something that comes to our mind, we're just like blam, just send
or letters of a Stoic. That's also a great one.
Of a Stoic? Who's the Stoic?
Seneca. I've discussed it on this podcast before.
I thought it was pronounced Stoic.
No,
I think so. No, I think he's got
no.
that.
I think you're both. I think you're both wrong.
That's fair.
That's fair. But if you only read it and hadn't heard it, it would be a different kind of thing. It's like that's what happens when you actually watch a movie based on a book. Everybody discovered it was pronounced Hermione. I had no idea.
That's actually true. I mean, that made a huge difference.
Yeah,
I knew people who said it was Hermy one, which is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's a very ugly name.
I never thought of that.
Be known.
What an awkward
Emma Watson, very attractive young lady who played the character in the film, and she's supposed to.
But not until the last movie, right?
Not until the last. Okay, I shouldn't say attractive. Lovely is what I meant to say. She's very attractive.
She was a darling.
Yeah, she cute though.
That hair dough. She cut that hair off dough. That hair dough.
So if you're talking about Bambi, and I'm like, yeah, she cute dough, then I'm just saying, she's a cute dough, and then
that's still a very awkwardly worded sentence though. She cute dough. You mean she is a cute dough? Yeah.
Awkwardly worded. It's streamlined, if that's what you want to get at. Streamlined sentence.
Slick.
I don't like streamlining. That's the other thing. Texting and all this sort of new written word has brought about is really cutting off words, complete sentences.
I won't get into word I don't know. Let's not get into words we hate, but preggers or prego just.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Do you
it's the
find
miracle of birth.
It's
the miracle of
just the prevalence of the word and the fact that the word exists at all. Oh God, of selfie.
Preggers and pregnant take the same time to say.
That's
same
what drives
amount
me
of
insane
syllables.
About it. Preggers, prego,
Right.
pregnant. She is pregnant. She is with child. You can say with child. It actually takes the same amount of effort.
Yeah, you should really say with child.
With
Speak in hushed tones.
Yeah, just like us at the beginning of
She's
the show.
with child.
When people
Right.
don't lift
What
up
other-
tree
what
when
other-
they walk, that bothers me.
The word amaze balls bothers me.
It's not a word.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Well, what is it then? The amalgamation of letters to form one pronounceable entity bothers me.
It's kind of a word. Alex, you said you didn't like the word selfie, and I also don't like that word, and I'm very upset by how much traction it has in popular culture these days.
And
Selfie
Selfie is so
about
prevalent.
last week, which is literally now means both literally and figuratively.
And figuratively, which defeats the meaning of words.
Who because selfie's in the dictionary now, and so is that definition of literally.
But
so who
take
is
comfort-
deciding? Can we vote on this? Can this be a plebiscite on elections?
English is a
some countries
language.
would have it, other countries would not. I mean, we gotta find out a way to stop this ridiculousness.
Now,
English is a language that flows and it changes.
It evolves.
And we have to
Regardless
get
of how
over it. I
often
think we
the words
have to
being
get
used.
over it a little bit. I mean, we can still silently judge people because what else would we do with our time? But I think we do have to get over it. Will, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No problem. I was actually going to completely agree with you and say that English is a constantly evolving language. And I think I was on Twitter kind of being like, I hate how, this is a word in the dictionary now. And someone mentioned, well, English is always evolving. English is a changing language. And, we probably wouldn't have a lot of words we use today that we don't even think about if we hadn't changed some stuff back in the day. Somehow we went from thee and thou to he and how. You know what I mean? I know that's not an expression at all. So some website, I'm sure, has the list of words that a certain Bill Shakespeare invented or basically created for the purpose of his plays.
Now, I've heard...
Now, is this urban legend? Is this urban legend?
No,
am
a little
I
bit,
just
because
like way
we
too
don't have a
gullible
lot
here?
of-
I just believe anything I hear or read, no matter how it's worded or said, presented. To
I've
me.
heard a different perspective on that is that he popularized and wrote down a lot of words that already existed.
Yeah.
So
those
we
are
look
the
at Shakespeare and we
first
say-
instances of those being written.
Right. So
But
we
he
say,
did not
oh,
create
he
them.
made up assassinate. It's like, well, no, and maybe he just knew assassinate was a word and we didn't have it written down. Which makes a little bit more sense for me because I don't like the idea of someone just being like writing a play and just being like he assassinated him, because you would need to explain what that was, or else people would be like, "What? What do you the two donkeys, two butts? What are you talking about right now, man?"
That
Yeah,
makes
I do
people
love
from
that
back-
word. There are two asses in it.
Well, also they wouldn't
Yes,
really have seen it written down because the first time they would have heard it would be performed. People weren't like, you weren't able to go to the store and buy Othello. You had to watch Othello. It was like a movie. You had to watch only once. You couldn't take it home with you unless you had
Like a play.
millions of golds,
A million little pieces.
million easy pieces, a million easy
Reese's Pieces, the story of one man's goal to get into the Guinness Book of World Records.
story of the fattest ET in the galaxy. Who ate a million Reese's Pieces, and he couldn't phone home to get his mommy to take care of him.
Can I
Well,
tell you guys how you
yeah,
make
please.
Reese's Pieces a million times better, actually?
I don't like them, so please do
Yeah,
this.
no one does. They're stupid. Why are there no chocolate pieces in it?
Yeah,
So you
that's
say
gross.
mix it with M&M's?
No, mix it with your own well, yeah, I mean, if you at home want to make the greatest snack mix you've ever made in your entire life, mix together Reese's Pieces and M&M's, or just eat peanut butter M&M's because they perfected it. Those are the greatest candy of all time.
Put them
I'll
on
stand by
popcorn.
it till the
If you're
day
at a
I
movie
die.
theater. If you put it on popcorn, that's a treat and a half.
Don't
It's like-
mix.
I've never done that, but I
Don't
like
You
to.
dig-
mix. Don't mix.
I
your
know.
candies
I
and
wasn't.
your-
Listen. Okay, we're gonna end this podcast this week the same way we ended it last week, and I'm not ready for that.
I'll tell you
again.
why I don't mix
All right.
my things. You go first, though.
I'm saying I was never a fan of mixing either. Mon frere. That's Spanish for brother. I don't know why I know that. But I, would. I know, and I said about 16 times there. For some
Like
reason, I
whatever,
had the
bro.
crazy idea to throw M&Ms on my popcorn. And you're in the movie and you're watching it and you're digging around for
In
popcorn.
Shakespeare, don't act like you invented this.
And eventually, I know.
Oh, yeah, one day I have
Eventually,
this
I just
crazy idea.
popularized it by discussing on the podcast. That's what I
There you
did.
go. There
You
you go.
just dig around in your popcorn, you get your kernels, your puffed fluffy kernels. This podcast also brought to you by Orville Redenbacher,
Orville Redenbacher, the brother of Orville Redenbacher.
the guy who flew
Makes
the
worse
plane.
popcorn.
No, you find like you're digging with the popcorn, and you find
Why are
little.
you digging through? Just eat the popcorn on the top.
I'm elbow
dig
deep,
through
and it's like
it.
all over me and the people
I
next to
think you're
me.
eating popcorn wrong,
Just
man.
a big
Placement,
problem.
It's all over top, man. I gotta say, there's one time Lindsay and I went to see a movie. Lindsay being my girlfriend.
Don't say her last name.
Her by name. But there was a guy in front of us, and he was taking the most massive handfuls of popcorn and having to kind of cram them by turning his hand and turning his head to get it all in at once.
Guy must be
Just
a real
going
fellow.
through it, man. And then he got up during
get a
before the
refill.
movie even started to get a refill.
Nice.
Cool.
Which you
My
can
friend
no longer do.
Yeah,
Right.
my friend discovered that the other day. We watched The Purge Anarchy, and he could not get a refill.
How was the Purge Anarchy?
Yeah, I'm very interested.
I had a Purge-a-thon on Sunday. I watched the original one and then watched Purge Anarchy. And
Purge-a-thon means something different, by the way.
well, I know. I didn't get to my point about why it's so good to have M&Ms in the popcorn, though, is because you dig around the popcorn in the first couple of fingerly layers, and you have your popcorn in your hand, but then you have a couple M&M little nuggets in there. It's a real treat. I suggest you try it.
Peanut butter
Especially-
M&Ms or just regular? Do they not melt?
No, they don't. They melt in your mouth, not in your hand. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, but what about
Purge
I
Anarchy?
actually had this discussion a couple weeks ago, which is I was like, "Oh, don't leave the M&Ms in the car; they'll melt." And someone said they melt in your mouth, not in your hand. I was like, "Yeah, but in a hot car, they're gonna melt, and in a hot popcorn, they're probably gonna do the same thing." I mean, it really
Okay.
only counts for
Those
two
are
things.
mouth-like things. Those are
I want a
situations.
scientist to tell me what the internal temperature of a human's oral cavity is, and the internal temperature of
You need
a
a scientist
Toy-
to tell you 97.1 degrees Fahrenheit.
Toyota.
There you
Okay,
go.
what? You just had that on the
34.
tip of your head?
Yes, I knew that.
Okay, what's the temperature of a hot Toyota Tercel parked in the Penhorn Mall or Penhorn
that-
Place parking lot on
That is
on
very...
August 9th? You know, that's where they would melt, sir.
Which August 9th?
Well, what's the outside temperature?
It's -5.
Check, yeah, on August 9th.
Yeah, what would happen then?
Then
a
it'd
cold
be
day.
-5 in the car.
It's a cold day in August.
So 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's 97.1, you're probably dying.
So it has to be at least...
What? I
98
just took
degrees?
my oral temperature. I need to go see the doctor. No, Purge Anarchy. So the first Purge movie, I'll go over it real quick, presented a very interesting concept of, one day a year, murder, and, well, it's in the trailer. I'm not going to, by the way, we're not going to do another review like we did last week because that was way too dangerous. I think it turned a lot of people off, just us dissecting the movie utterly. Let's wait a year for that to happen next time. So next year we'll give
before.
the full review of Purge Anarchy. I know, but that was a different kind of thing. This is actually a good movie. Purge.
It was Captain America before that.
I thought it was
Man of
Spider-Man.
Steel.
And
Spider-Man, Man of Steel, Captain... Okay, yeah. Well, close.
anyway,
Sorry, Purge Anarchy.
we're never gonna talk about movies again. So the Purge Anarchy is a movie I saw this weekend. The first Purge movie presented a very interesting concept of one day a year in America for 12 hours between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Crime is legal, including murder, and to let people kind of
Oh, it's only 12 hours?
Yeah, it's a
Oh my
12-hour
God.
purge. And it takes place at night, too, which I don't know if that's really a good idea. Maybe we should do it in the daytime. It's a little safer. But this family locks themselves in a house, and they have their security systems. So they're all locked in and locked down. So they're all good. They're there. But, of course, things go askew. So the first movie was a great low-budget version of a horror movie with a great concept because it was all shot on one location with some people from Hollywood. They had Cersei Lannister, Lena Headey is in there. And it was
Ethan
cool. It was
Hawke.
a cool flick. Yeah, Ethan Hawke, who I just realized is actually really especially in that movie, is a poor man's Tom Cruise. I never noticed how cruisy he was until I saw that movie.
How much running does he do in that one?
Not a okay, so not a lot.
There
Yeah,
you
he's
go.
not the running Tom
Poor
Cruise.
man.
He
He's the
actually
poor man,
owns
Tom Cruise, that's
or
fair.
owned property in Nova Scotia. I don't know if he still does or not.
You're thinking about Richard Hatch, actually.
No, I'm not. I'm thinking about Ethan Hawke. I'm not talking about Survivor winner Richard Hatch, who went
That
to
is
jail
true, though.
for tax evasion. I'm talking about Ethan Hawke.
Did he sell his Pontiac Aztec? Do you think?
Oh, he
I hope
His
not.
probably
2000
autographed
Pontiac
it and sold
Aztec?
it for
It's a good
$1.50.
automobile.
Good
Well,
car.
no,
dough.
the
That's
first
a
one-
do you want
good
to sell
car
the seats,
dough.
though?
The first Purge was basically set in the house, and all this nasty stuff was going on outside of the parts of the world, but everybody was locked in. This next movie, Purge, Purge Anarchy, takes you to the streets of
Starring
L.A.
Frank Grillo.
Just the way it should. And Jason Eisner, famed Dartmouth film director, said it was one of the craziest movies he's seen in recent years. And then I realized the movie is only rated in Canada. It was rated 14A. So somewhere between the director of Hubble with a Shotgun saying it's the craziest movie he's seen in years and he can't believe it's in theaters and a 14A rating, that peak right there is what the Purge Anarchy is. It's a very violent 14A, but Jason's also a big fan of like the Warriors and the Mad Max movies where people wear crazy costumes and drive around and travel in gangs. Like there's a lot of weird gangs in this movie. But it was entertaining. It was an okay flick. I wouldn't rush right out to see it, but it was an okay flick.
Well, those VHS movies any good? Speaking of Jason Eisner,
apparently it's a mixed bag. And once
I've heard.
Ian saw him, he said
I guess
Jason's
that's kind of the point.
Well, yeah, but you have like all these directors,
want them all to be good,
and they can be like of very varying levels of quality. You know, you could have like these directors that even directors you don't know about can make a good little flick in there. But he says Eisner's was okay.
So, if we can digress back to the point earlier,
Yes,
it's still on the movie topic, but the reason why I don't put M&Ms in my popcorn.
Yes, the whole reason we talked about purging. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give you just a one-word answer. Seasoning.
Okay, so we don't have seasoning out here. Yeah,
You don't have seasoning at all?
Who still has seasoning? No, we don't have seasoning out here. We
What?
have something called like Poptopia, which is a little popcorn booth next to the concession stand that makes specialized popcorn for you.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's
So what is it like? What was that place called?
Craft popcorn?
no,
Kernels?
it was
Kernels?
kernels. Yeah, it's basically like kernels. The kernel.
Are there still
Mr.
kernels
Sanders.
around?
Yes, there's one in Pacific Center.
Are there still
I've seen one.
muffins around?
I haven't
about that
seen.
recently.
There was a muffins right next to where we grew up, where we lived.
So I see you spent 5 years working at muffins.
Muffins.
How was that?
Actually,
How would you be a
sorry.
good fit for Starbucks?
Yeah, sorry to correct you, sir. It's not muffins. It's muffins.
Yeah, there are
You gotta
6 M's, not 4.
A mom definitely came up with the name of that company. Oh dear, why don't you call your place muffins? But you have like 4 M's in the front, like someone saying muffins.
Why don't you put 4 M's in the front?
Why
It's
is
like-
it?
it's just like-
Why is it
Well,
Lorne
you Dr.
Michaels?
Evil doing this.
Yours was Lorne Michaels before.
No, mine was.
Why don't you make it muffins with 4 M's in the front?
Put 4 M's and there would be. I don't know. These impressions are only getting better.
Muffins.
Anything else to say before we ride off from the sunset?
I have so many things
Son.
to say.
Good. So we have a lot of
Apparently
topics for
muffins
next
still
time.
exists. What the heck?
Well, it's delicious, delicious treat.
You know what I had on the weekend that I hadn't had in a long time? Just a plain bagel with cream cheese. Oh my goodness. What a delight that is.
It is, and that's what I used to eat when I would come home from my call center job at like 3:30. I'd have a white bagel with
Yeah.
cream cheese, or I would have baby carrots with ranch dressing. And man,
I don't know why
I was cut back
bread.
then.
I don't
was
know
cut.
why bread is.
so good.
It's my favorite food.
It's so good.
Bread's my favorite food.
I
Sandwiches.
live a block
bread.
from a huge Ben's bakery, and I walked by it tonight with my wife, and we just smelled the bread. And then we saw a guy hop over a fence and run very fast down the street, and I think he may have stabbed someone to death.
There was a stabbing.
I
Earlier.
know. I saw him, and he was running in a manner that suggested guilt. And then I saw a cop car kind of moseying around the neighborhood. So I don't know. Maybe
Whenever
I'll
I
be in
run,
court
I
soon.
run guiltily. I'm
Holy
a
cow.
guilty runner.
That's the worst thing I've heard of since sliced bread. Where can we?
F minus.
That might have been the worst joke I've ever said, and you heard it right here on the Triple There. You can find me on Twitter, 140 characters or less, at William C. Vaughn, which is the @ logo, which has also become popularized in the last 15 years. Who invented that? Well, it wasn't me, so I guess I don't really care.
Invented what?
The
Yeah,
@
symbol.
symbol.
You can look it up.
I don't have time.
Well, if you actually look it up, you'll find
whole
that it
show.
was invented way, way, way before the internet ever came to
Oh
be.
yeah.
It's a good symbol. It saves one character. It's a fancy
It's
A.
also its own character,
and
which is
it's-
useful.
It's a fancy A, and it saves you from a fancy T. At William C. Vaughn on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, and it's William C. Vaughn also. And I'm on Facebook, but I don't think you can find me. And it's probably a good idea. Alex, where can we find you?
I'm
On
at
just Instagram. Or just Twitter. That was a mistake. Just on Twitter, where can we find you?
I am at Wham Mom, WAMMOM.
It's weird that you called
so
yourself
follow
a
me
mom
for-
and you used all
Well,
of
you
3 of
know,
our initials.
It's
in
kind of
your
like
name. She was pleased to punch. She was pleased as punch to come up with that name, by the way. So don't you go knocking at her. She'll go.
I didn't knock it. All I said
She'll
is that's
go
where you
knocking
can
your
find
head
me.
right freaking there, Mister.
Oh my
Find me at
gosh.
Wham Mom on the Twitter sphere.
Dad's on there too, isn't he? He's just at Charlie Vaughn.
Is he not NS? No, yeah, he's probably.
No, he's not NS big guy. He's NS regular size guy.
That's already taken.
Yeah, Matt, where can we find you on Twitter and no longer on Instagram? You've quit it.
I have eschewed Instagram, and instead I am
Just going back
MP
to
Vaughn.
Kodak.
MP Vaughn.
I Instagram this
Polaroids.
show every week, by the way. I think that's why we're pulling in so many viewers.
Yeah, I'm
Viewers?
at Drew
Yes,
Breeze on
listeners.
Twitter.
No, listeners, not viewers.
I know.
When we used to work at a
should we-
newspaper. We had a guy come in. He was my manager, and he was from Global TV. And he always called the readers listeners, and it drove me insane. He also always called me
He's seen
Alec
everyone.
and not Alex, so that drove me insane as well.
Wow, talk about a couple of word crimes there. Well, I wanted to say viewers because I think we should announce that this is actually being picked up as a series every week,
Right.
every
On
Monday
IFC.
morning. Yeah, on ISC.
You've been
Dude.
listening to our pilot all this time.
Yes.
People don't have to listen to it on a Monday morning. It could
And,
be-
you
and
guys-
Matt's character is going to split
Please
into
don't
two
replace me.
people.
No,
there'll be
It's
one
gonna be
version
Tom
of
and
you.
Phil.
Yeah, the two versions of you will be split in half.
One's a nerd and one's a loser.
Okay.
But one's played by Mary Kate, and the other one's played by Ashley Olsen.
I think they're like 35 years old now, aren't they?
They're like roughly my age, so thanks. But
Folks,
no,
if you can,
they're older than me.
if you can figure out how old the Olsen twins are, send it to us on
If
Twitter.
you can figure out how
If you can figure out,
If you can use simple
yes,
deduction.
no, I will refuse usage of Google or IMDb or any other Wikipedia, any other websitular assistance. You must find this out on your own accord.
did you say webitular assistance?
Websitular, I think. it's,
Websitular.
Websitular. Why is
I
it?
don't.
All right.
This show's getting worse all the time. There you go.
We
That'll be
could
our
always plan.
sign off. Even though it's kind of taken from Lando, but whatever. If you enjoy
Come
a
on,
nice
man, old buddy, don't let me
this-
down.
this show podcast, one of our other sponsors is Colt 45. Drink a cool Colt 45 and you'll be as smooth as me. Billy D. Williams. Remember me and Batman, and I was Harvey Dent, and they replaced me with Tommy Lee
Please
Jones
tell me
3 movies
those
later.
Colt 45 commercials came out before Batman.
I'm sure they did. I think they were right
I
after
think
Empire.
so. They should have
Okay.
came out after Batman. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause he's not
I've
doing
actually
so
never
good.
drank a Colt 45. Have you
It's
guys?
gross. I have had the displeasure of drinking Colt 45 on many occasions.
Why
It's not.
many
it's not
occasions.
good. Well, just because it was more than one occasion. How many do you want me to? I don't know. I don't want to say
But
some.
many doesn't
That'll
mean
undersell
more
it.
than one.
Yes, it does.
Regardless of how many times you did.
Oobly.
Oh,
Next
boy.
week's podcast will be coming to you in German. It's the only language we can apparently talk good in. So, ich bin
Guten Tag.
Minky. And take care of
Sounds like the
yourself.
Swedish stuff.
And have fun, dough.
You know, people that take care of themselves and have fun.
Dough. Threw in
No,
the
but
dough.
they can't. I mean, it's one
Not a
or the
Homer
other.
Simpson like dough. I'm sure the music's playing over us right now.
Live fast, die young. Carl Young.
What? No, I was doing an original tune. You're gonna get sued
Yeah,
by
well,
the.
I was
You're gonna get
remixing
sued. You're gonna get sued by the broccoli family.
Oh man, I was remixing. I was doing the,
You're gonna
Dead
get sued by
mouse
the
in it.
broccolis. The
dead mouse in it.
Demo 5.
Dem
Five. Yeah.
Dem five though.
Might as well go listen to the Dead Mouse 5 CD.
All right. Take care, folks.
Are you eating though? All right.
Late.
Be good to one another.